Hey, it's Rick. I'm back with another video for Paper Rose Studio. Today we're making 3 adorable Valentine's Day cards using products from the Perfect Pairs collection. We're going to be using the Perfect Pairs base patterns paper, Perfect Pairs basics, and a little bit of the regular 6x6 paper pad. We're also going to be using some die cuts. We got our Happy Valentine's Day metal cutting die, the Love Truck builder die, the Love Bug car die, the XOXO die, the alphabet dies, stitched circles. I don't know my shapes. We're going to use some shimmer cardstock from the Blooming Blossoms shimmer cardstock pack, the Perfect Pairs embossed die cuts as well. And I'm using some cardstock from Paper Rose Studio from the assortment collection. I've picked out 3 of those. So we're going to start off with our first card. So I've cut out the Love Truck die from some purple pansy cardstock. I'm going to use my grape ink cube to add some shading behind that, or onto that. So we're going to start on our right side. I'm going to add some shading with just a blender brush of that grape ink onto our little truck. And I've got my other little parts of our rims or bumpers, or not bumpers. I can't remember what those are called. This is a little footstep for the truck. I just cut it from white cardstock, and I'm going to color it with just some markers to make it super easy. Just some brown. I'm going to color the headlight and the tail light. I've just used a red marker for the tail light. I left the headlight white. I'm using some brown markers to color the sideboard. And I'm also going to go around the edge as well, so it looks like a solid piece of cardstock. Pro tip there, just go around the edge using the tip of that marker to color that in. Now I'm going to go ahead and add this onto my truck. It's super adorable. Such a cute little die set. I started putting the wrong pieces on first, and it was like, oh wait, I need to put the little side thing on first. Duh. So we're going to go ahead and attach our little wheels that cut out the cute little hearts on the inside. Isn't that just adorable for a Valentine's Day card? So we're going to go ahead and add our little wheels on both sides. I cut that out from charcoal cardstock, charcoal black. And we will go ahead and pop on our little headlight and our tail light. I'm just going to pick both of those up, pop those into place. And once I get them turned the right direction, we'll add our little tail light in there. And we will add our little headlight on the front. That would also been super adorable from yellow cardstock or even silver. Whichever would have floated your boat, baby. Do you, boo-boo. All right, for our little hub wheel covers, we're going to pop those up a little bit and use a little glue to go right over our little wheels. And I did both of those, added just a little foam tape behind each one of those at the top. I'm going to pop that front one on. I'm going to flip that over and pop that onto place. That way I can make sure everything's nice and even. Sometimes it's easier for me to just flip it over and do it around. Now for our card, we're going to use the basic white top folding A2 US card bases. I've used that same purple pansy cardstock and cut that at an eighth of an inch larger than our 2 pieces of pattern paper. When those are together, they make 4 by 5 1/4. So that top panel is 4 by 2 and 3 1/2 or something like that. And the bottom piece is like 1 3/4 by 4. So one of those is from the basics. The little stripe piece is from the basic collection, and the top part is from the pattern collection from the Petite Pairs Perfect Pair collection. We're going to add that to our top folding A2 card base from Paper Rose Studio. I love the pre-made card bases. They are perfect and make card making super easy. Now, I've cut that Happy Valentine's Day out from that same purple pansy cardstock. I'm going to add liquid glue behind that and add it onto a basic white shadow layer. So we will go ahead and add that on there and get that all nice and lined up. If I can do it. That's always a good question. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to add liquid glue behind that. Thank goodness I used liquid glue because I had to move this like 3 times to get it in the perfect little spot. Because we're going to add one of our embossed die cut characters into the truck. Like, they are popped out with a sweet little Valentine message balloon. That little panda is just adorable. So I'm going to fiddle around, get that into place, and figure out how I'm going to put that on there. I added foam tape behind our little character and the truck so we can keep everything nice and together. I'll pull those backings off. I'm going to pop those off, get my little picky tool there, and I will take, and I still haven't got that sentiment exactly where I want it. I'm going to add liquid glue behind. I thought it was in the right spot, but it's not. I'm going to have to move it a little bit to make sure everything's nice and lined up and everything's not crooked. So luckily that glue had not dried yet, so I could easily pop that up. I'm going to go ahead and move that again. I will move it one more time to make sure it's in the right spot because it was a little too low. So we're going to move that. I finally decided it was easier to just put the two together and attach them at one time. It made the most sense. It's one of those days, y'all. One of those days. We'll go ahead and move that a little bit more, get it in position, pop that down, secure that little sweetness into place. I'm going to add the little purple heart back into the sentiment that the die cuts adds. I'm going to add some shimmery hearts from the Blooming Blossom Shimmering cardstock. I chose the pink and the red, and I used the heart dies that's in the Love Truck Builder die set, and I'm just adding those with, I added all three sizes that cuts out. I've added 3 at the top left, and I'm going to add 3 at the bottom right. I'm going to use our liquid glue and just add little dots of glue so I can get those hearts into place. So we've got 2 purple on this side and 1 pink. And we've got 2 pink and a purple on the top. I'm going to add some white gel pen highlights to our little truck. And I'm just going to come around and add those. Now, I did come back and decide that I wanted the little dots on my truck to be hearts. So I did that. And that is our first card. I've got to put in my little pattern paper for the inside because y'all know I done forgot. So we're just going to use that same piece of pattern paper that we have left over from the top. Add that to the inside of our card. Here's a closer look at card number 1. And we're going to move on to card number 2. Now for this one, I went all out, y'all. Way over the top for me. So I've cut the XOXO die from just basic white cardstock. I've got our top folding basic white A2 US card base. All those little X's and O's, I'm not going to let those go to waste. I'm going to use those as a decorative piece on the inside of our card. For my decorative element for the inside, I've started with adding the X's and the O's to the inside, hoping to get them straight as possible. I'm going to add those all the way down that left-hand side, just picking each little individual X and O up, adding tiny little bits of liquid glue behind each and popping those into place, trying to get everything nice and lined up correctly. I'll pop that little O, center of that O out. I'm going to use those as well. Don't think I'm going to let anything go to waste on this. So we're going to pop those out. I'm going to continue building up that inside decorative element. For this card, we're going to add that little OX right there. We've got an O and another X and another O to go. All right, so we're going to continue adding our little X's and O's to the inside of our little card, adding those tiny little bits of glue. I've got one more X and one more O. It got stuck to me. I had to go back and put it back. So we're going to go ahead and do our next little X. And then we've got a little bit of room for a 1/2 of an O we're going to put on there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that on. And then I'm going to let all that dry. And we're going to work on the other part of our cards. So I've cut a piece. There's our last little O right there. I've cut a piece of our pattern paper. And that is from the Basics Perfect Pair Basic collection. So I've cut that XOXO cover plate from just basic white cardstock. I've added liquid glue behind the center and added tiny little dots on those little points beside the X and the O's so that I can add that to my pattern paper. I'm just going to line those up together. I cut both out with the little die, the square rectangle die that came with the set. I'm going to fill in those little centers of the O's. So I've just added little dots of liquid glue, picking those up with my little wax tool, popping those into the center of each of those O's so that everything reads correctly. So it doesn't take that long. I actually was surprised how easy that was, because that inlay usually takes me forever. But actually, this went really by really quick. And the way I designed this card, I actually could have left some of those off on the left-hand side, and nobody would ever have been the wiser. But since I had them, I went ahead and filled everything in. So we're going to go ahead and pop those last couple in. And then I'm going to trim off my little O right there for the inside. I'll add my card front onto my card base using our liquid adhesive. I'm just going to go ahead and add that on. So we'll pop that on and nice and centered onto our top folded A2 card base. And then I've got another piece of our pattern paper, that same pattern paper, I'm going to use on the left-hand side of the card. And I just cut it down to fit the card front. And I pop that on. Now you can see I've got a couple stitch circles over there. I'm going to use those as well. I told you I'm going over the top. I'm using the rest of my little X's and O's, and I'm going to attach to my little cornflower blue cardstock stitch circle. I'm going to attach those. I started in the center. I felt that would be easier. So I'm going to add each of my X and O's. I'm going to start on one side, add an X in the center. I added the O, and then I'm going to add an X over on the other side of it. And then I will repeat that same process on the left-hand side. So we just have our little X's and O's going. I'm going to add this one over next to our other X. I could have spaced that one on the right over just a little bit more, but I didn't. So we'll go ahead and add this X. And then I'm going to work on the next row, which is at the top and bottom. And I offset the X's, the next row, slightly, so that it gave a little bit more character to the die cut piece. So I'm going to go ahead and add my next layer, and I'm started off with that half circle we just cut off from the card inside of the card. We're going to pop that on. I'm going to do my little X right here, and I'm going to offset it from the other X's so that it has a nice little detail. But I am keeping the little line of the X. I try to keep all those in a row. I'm going to fill in any empty spaces on our little decorative element here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add a couple little more in the spots. That one wasn't quite dry. I'm going to take the same stitch circle die that I used from Paper Row Studio. I'm lining that back up in position and make sure that is lined back up, that X there. And then I'm going to run that through my little die cutting machine and have that same stitching detail on both. And it actually helped press those into place as well. Now I'm going to add this decorative element onto that white cardstock stitch circle frame that I made with the next size up stitch circle from the stitch circle die set. We're going to add that. I'm going to add this onto our card front. And I will add that just kind of off-centered, or in the center, but off of the designer series paper, or pattern paper right there. And then I cut out the Love You using the alphabet die set and some cherry blossom cardstock. I'm using bubblegum ink to create an ombre look for the letters. So I'm just going to go through, ink blend those, and create that little ombre on each of the letters. And I'm going to add this as my sentiment for my card. Now, I have lined these up and taped it down. Wait till the ink dries before you try that. Otherwise, because it would not stick to the cardstock letters. Normally, it works fine, but that ink was still wet when I did it. And so I had to fiddle around and get everything lined back up. And you can see there's the U right there, but I ended up losing that in just a second, and I had to put it back and see I lost the U. I had to go back and find it. So I found that. I'm going to pop that on, and I'm going to add my little character, my little monster from the Perfect Pairs embossed die cuts. I'm going to add a few clay hearts to our little card. I'm going to add 3 on this side and 3 over on the other side, so that we have a nice little grouping of our little hearts. So I'm going to add those on, and here is a look at our finished card for card number 2. Okay, for card number 3, I've used the Love Bug die set, and I've cut that out from Spring Green cardstock. And I'm going to use grass ink and add a little shading to our parts and pieces here of our little Love Bug. And again, this is a super cute little die set as well. I was super happy when I found it online on the store. It made me super happy. I thought they were just adorable. And I immediately thought of these little characters and thought, oh, this would be perfect to have them sticking out of the little cars and everything. It'd be adorable. So we're going to go ahead and add our front of our card. This would be the hood, I guess. But since I don't have a beetle, a bug, that could be the trunk. I can't remember if... I know in the newer versions, there are the engine's in there, but in the older versions, the engine's in the back of the car. So we're putting that on, and we're going to add our little hub caps over there on that layer to add that decorative part on that side. And we've got our other little one on the right-hand side. We'll add that. I just love this little car. It's so cute. We're going to add the little bumper. I've cut it from some just silver cardstock from my stash. So I'm going to add that on. And then I'm going to add the little pieces that go right there in just a little bit after I find one again. So while I was looking for that, I decided to go ahead and add the license plate on. So I'm going to add that, and I cut that from silver cardstock as well. We're going to add our pieces for our headlights. So I've added that. If I cut that from silver cardstock and from the yellow cardstock from Paper Rose Studio. I can't remember the name of the yellow cardstock right now. Everything is listed below. So we'll go ahead and add our little headlights, and I will add liquid glue into these and pop in our little yellow pieces. And it just, oh my God, it just is super adorable. I love it. So we're going to go ahead and add our steering wheel. And since I only have to add glue to half of that, I'm just going to add it to that. And I'm going to pop that into place. So we'll pop that on. We will add the little pieces of our bumper that I found, finally, the other one. It was hiding underneath my little car. And I lose the die cuts all the time. So we're going to go ahead and pop that one on. And I'm going to take and add my wheels next. So I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue, get those into position, pop it under the little car. We'll do the other side by adding just a little liquid glue. Make sure you get them all nice and even and not cattywampus, because that's how we went. Now I'm going to add tiny little dots into those heart shapes of the tailplate or license plate, and because I've cut it out from that Christmas red cardstock as well, and I'm going to pop those little hearts into place, and that way we have our little red hearts and our little chrome tailplate. Now I've cut that Happy Valentine's Day sentiment one more time. I'm going to add liquid glue behind it. This time I cut it from charcoal black cardstock, and I have the white, basic white shadow layer again. So we're going to arrange our sentiment and get that nice and lined up. And I am going to leave off the little heart that would be up there that would be black. I'm going to leave that off because we're going to use the little silver hearts from our tail license plate. All right, so we've got a piece of our pattern paper from the Perfect Pairs pattern collection. That's a mouthful. I'm adding that to a spring green cardstock layer that's cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I'll add this to my regular standard A2 card base. That is our basic white standard card bases from Paper Rose Studio. Now I'm going to add a piece of the pattern paper from the Perfect Pairs, just regular collection. I chose the little heart pattern. I'm going to add that. This is from the basic collection, I believe. No, it's from the pattern. I'm sorry. It's the Perfect Pairs pattern. It's just the reverse side of the one we just used, our little pink plaid pattern. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to add our little decorative piece to the inside of our card. I'm going to add liquid glue to that. I've got my little embossed die cut over there waiting to go in his little car. So we're going to pop him in. I'm going to add liquid glue but on just his little feet. And I will pop him behind the little steering wheel while he's holding his little heart. I'm going to add just a little bit of liquid glue on that hood or top of the car to keep him secure. I added foam tape behind our little focal image. I'm going to peel those little backings off. I'm going to pop him into place. And we're going to move him around just a little bit so that we can get him in the perfect little spot. And I decided he would look better on this side. And I'm going to add my sentiment now. And I'm going to pop it over kind of cattywampus. And I'm going to add our little silver heart from our tail light. Or not our tail light, our license plate into that little heart opening. And then those other two are not going to go to waste either, because I'm going to add a little dot of liquid glue around our sentiment. I'm going to add those over there to balance out our little sentiment and let those little hearts, little embellishments shine. So they're super cute. I'm going to add some white gel pen highlights to our little car and our little duck. I'm just coming through with just a white gel pen, adding those in where I think they need to be, especially anything that I know will be hitting with light, like the hood and the head cap, the bumpers and stuff. There is a look at that card, and here is a look at all three of our cards we made today using the Perfect Pairs collection, and I will see you in the next video. If you need anything, they're linked and listed below. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.